Okay, so now that we're done with team-by-team analysis, we're on to the argument of the week for our final segment. And if you weren't here for the past 2 weeks, basically argument of the week is we, two of us ask a question, and those two people have to give differentiating opinions on that question, and we argue it out for about a minute each, and then the judge, whoever the other person is, judges who won the argument, and then you, the viewers at home, can also decide who won and your opinions on it. And, let's just get right into it. Actually,
I just want to say the standings right now. So far through 2 weeks, I've won 3 arguments, Nick has won 2, and AJ has won 1 argument.
You're really suffering in these things. You
got trivia of the week, only got one.
I don't even know. Yeah, you have one, but we were nice about it. And then you suffered whatever again.
This is my comeback. Okay, so the first question, Jared, you can read it.
Alright, I'm the judge. Nick and AJ are going to discuss who got the better end of the Chandler Jones trade, the Patriots or the Cardinals. Now, just to go over the trade, it was Chandler Jones from the Patriots for Jonathan Cooper, offensive guard, and a second-round pick from the Cardinals. Just keep in mind that the Patriots now have 11 total picks in the 2016 draft up to that point. So, I mean, you could look at it either way, whichever team got the better end, and that's what we're about to...
What are you gonna do?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Cardinals, so I'm gonna go first.
You're gonna go first?
Yeah.
Alright, ready? 3, 2, 1, go for it.
Okay, so my opinion on this trade is that the Cardinals got the better end of the trade, and this is because Chandler Jones is just difference maker on the defensive end that could help a team into the playoffs. He's just that he was the best, in my opinion, he was the best player on that Patriots defense last year. And he can go in there. He could be the outside linebacker because Dwight Freeney's getting old, or he could be the defensive end. He was just a plain difference maker. He had 12.5 sacks last year, which is amazing. And he's also a big guy. He also had a blocked field goal. He had a blocked field goal return for a touchdown. He's just that difference maker on every end. And then all they had to give up was a second round. Actually, no, that's not that big, but they had to give up Jonathan Cooper. And Jonathan Cooper, in my opinion, has been a bust for the Cardinals so far in his career. He hasn't lived up to his expectations at all. So right now, you have the Cardinals getting Chandler Jones, who was a difference maker, and then Jonathan Cooper. They're giving him away, which saves cap, and then the second round pick is a big thing, but just Chandler Jones is just the big end of that deal.
All right. So Nick, you're obviously going with the Patriots. You ready?
Yes.
Alright. Going in 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so I am obviously going with the Patriots. I don't think the Cardinals got a bad deal. I just want to state that. But for the sake of arguing, Chandler Jones is a very good player, obviously. But you got to remember, Chris Long who they got to replace him, is going to be a good role player. The Patriots don't need a pass rush. You know what I mean? They need a pass rush, but it's not like they're lacking and like they're going to lose so much from him. So, more of what I'm trying to say is they got many picks in return. They're going to be able to rebuild. Bill Belichick always gets good players in the draft, and he's always going to get good linemen, whether it's deep in the draft or early in the draft. And like you guys said, defensive lineman is very early and is very good in this year's draft. And also, oh, you guys made me forget what I was going to say. Oh, that's so mean. Oh, and Chandler Jones was in his rookie year of his contract, and he's going to ask for so much money. So the odds are, let me just finish this because you guys
I'll give you 5 more seconds.
Chandler Jones is in his rookie year of his contract, so he's going to ask for so much money. They're not going to have to pay him that much money. They're going to get a replacement in the draft, and I think it's going to work out for them.
All right.
And Jonathan Cooper isn't bad.
Can't say that.
Yeah, that doesn't count. Sorry. In my opinion, Jonathan Cooper is bad. I'm just playing. This is tough because AJ brought up a good point that Chandler Jones is a difference maker, but he didn't bring up what I thought he was in the fact that last year the Cardinals' pass rush really suffered. It was worst It was actually worse of all the playoff teams that made it. They had the least amount of sacks, the least amount of
Didn't they have like 9 sacks in one game though?
Against the Packers,
yeah.
But I still think I'm not positive.
No, yeah, they were bad.
Their pass rush was terrible, and AJ didn't bring that up, and I think that's one of the main points that it worked out well for the Cardinals. I like how Nick did bring up though, however, that Bill Belichick will always be able to replace him, and also another fact is that the defensive line in this draft, like he said, is very, very, very deep. And in mid to late rounds, you can get a player that, if not replace Chandler Jones, because like AJ said, he is a dynamic player, I feel like he could definitely be as good, if not almost better than Chandler Jones.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm going to give this one to Nick, AJ. Sorry, but...
That's just another opportunity lost for me.
Oh, there you
Well,
go.
maybe you can make up for it against me.
Alright, so now
Transition.
the next argument is, are the Broncos still playoff contenders? So obviously I'm the judge, and it's going to be AJ versus Jared. Give me 1 second to do
What do you think, AJ?
this.
I think that they aren't playoff contenders.
They aren't playoff contenders? You think they are? Okay. 3, 2,
I'm going first.
1, go.
Okay, so my opinion is that the Broncos are not playoff contenders. They'll probably still make the playoffs, but hear me out on this. Their division right now, so cut that out. Their division right now is stacked with the Chiefs and Raiders being probably better than them right now because of their quarterback position, and their offense is just a little bit better than them right now. The defense is fantastic and the best, but in my opinion, those two teams are right now better than them until they can get the quarterback situation,
Handled.
Yeah. So I think that the Chiefs will win the division and the Raiders will probably get like a wild card spot, which means that there's one wild card spot left, which means that it's either going to be, in my opinion, the Jets, the Jaguars, the Texans, the Colts. There's a lot of other teams.
Okay.
And it's just like the quarterback position is such a big need that I don't know if the defense can carry them this time of year because the division last year wasn't that good because the Raiders and the Chargers weren't up to par. But now they're really good, and they have to verse the Chargers, the Chiefs, and the Raiders 6 times, a total of 6 times. So, it's just like, I think that they're a good team. It's just like their schedule and like everyone else in that conference is just better.
Oh, alright, that was good.
Alright,
Ready?
I'm ready.
3, 2, 1, go.
I'd just like to bring up a point that AJ said where he was talking about how, defense can't carry them all the way. Last year when Peyton Manning was struggling, like before they benched him for Brock Osweiler, they still were
Sure.
winning all their games. They don't really need amazing play from their quarterback because that defense is just so good. As you saw in the Super Bowl, Peyton Manning had 130 yards
and like a touchdown.
a touchdown and 2 interceptions, was it?
It was like a pick.
Either way, I feel like you don't really need, in that system and with that defense, you don't really need a star quarterback. And, he was also talking about how the other teams have surpassed them in this division. I mean, you haven't really, the Chiefs maybe, but you haven't even seen, the Raiders play with this new unit that they have with all these new players. Also, I'm trying to think of what I was about to say is... Okay. What I was also trying to say... Oh, you messed me up.
See, you keep doing it. I'll stop the clock. You
I was just saying how much time was left.
No, I know, but just let him think. You know what I mean?
That's such a good argument. It was about, Forget it.
You lost? Alright, that's your final argument?
No, hold on. Give me 10 more seconds to think.
Yeah.
It's such a good one.
You're good?
It's lost.
Since I messed him up, I think that you can cut 15 seconds from mine too. So
Okay. Well, you went over by 10 seconds as
Yeah.
well, so...
Wait, I remember. The question is not, will they make the playoffs? The question is if they're contenders, and I definitely don't think that they're not going to be
Very
contenders.
fair
they
point.
definitely
Very
are
fair
going to be in
point.
the
He
running.
might have pooped on you a little bit with that one.
They're if they don't make it, they're at least going to be in the running, and there's nobody that can tell me otherwise with that defense.
That's very true. That is, wow, that was bad. You kind of wish you didn't remember that. Okay, I agree. AJ had a very, very fair point, which made me really consider why they wouldn't be, and it's because of all the teams that are in the AFC that are finally getting better. But now that I think about it, the question was contenders, not will they make the playoffs. It was contending for the playoffs. And it's almost impossible to say that they won't, assuming their defense stays as good as it was last year. So, therefore, I will say...
Okay, so now that we're done with our second argument, we're going to go on to our third argument. And the final one is Cam Newton a number 1 fantasy quarterback? I'm going to be the judge, and Nick and Jared are going to be the players. Starting, you're going to start out. 3, 2, 1.
Okay,
Go.
So Cam Newton, I don't think is... he could be, but I don't think he should be drafted as number 1 with confidence as an early draft pick, like first round. Reason being, all of his years prior, I'm going to tell you his touchdowns. 21 touchdowns, 19 touchdowns, 24 touchdowns, 18 touchdowns. Interceptions, 17 interceptions, 12 interceptions, 13 interceptions, 12 interceptions. Those, like his previous year, his interception and touchdown ratio, touchdowns 18, interceptions 12. Just this previous year, he's gotten 35 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. That's only 1 year that he has proven that he's a very, very good quarterback. And yes, he'll bring up the argument that he runs as well. Well, there's other quarterbacks that run too, but Tom Brady, those kind of Aaron Rodgers, those quarterbacks score more than those rushing quarterbacks just by throwing the ball. So running isn't everything. You have to keep into effect that this is his first year. You'd like to say that Brock Osweiler only played 7 games. Jeremy Langford only played about half the season.
Your overtime, just really.
Oh, okay. Well, those players you can't just base and expect greatness out of them when they've only done 1 season of proving it. Not that Cam Newton's a bad quarterback, don't get me wrong. But in terms of the best one, I don't think so.
Okay, so Jared, you can go now. 3, 2, 1.
I'm going to say that Cam Newton will be the best fantasy quarterback again because I'm going to read you stats. Almost 3,900 yards, 35 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. But the rushing yards, 132 rushes for over 600 yards and 10 rushing touchdowns. Now, there were only 2 players that got within 50 points of him in terms of fantasy numbers last year. And one of them being Tom Brady, who was still 20 points less than him, and Russell Wilson, who was 50 points behind him. And I don't really see a scenario in which Cam Newton actually does get worse, considering the fact that, all his weapons stayed put. He didn't lose anyone. But he gets another year of experience from Devin Funchess, who was a big draft pick last year who didn't really do that great. He gets Greg Olsen. He still has Ted Ginn. But the best part is he gets Kelvin Benjamin back from injury last year, and I think that's what a lot of people are forgetting. And I mean, what you saw from him out of his rookie year, if he could even come close to those numbers, I mean, I don't see a scenario in which Cam Newton isn't the number 1 quarterback.
All right, good job.
I just want to say one thing. You don't have to include this in my argument. He did bring up a fair point, which I knew he was going to bring up Kelvin Benjamin. You could also say, in the same thing, is Andrew Luck was injured this year, and he was the reigning fantasy quarterback in terms of most amount of points, I believe. And Aaron Rodgers also didn't have Jordy Nelson, so those are 2 insane quarterbacks that weren't even, couldn't keep up. I'm just saying that. Off the record, you don't have to include that.
Yeah, I won't. So, I think that he is the best quarterback just because of his threat as a passer and a runner. But anyway, Jared didn't bring up the point about the running, and I think that's a very important point.
Yes, he did.
You did?
He did.
Yeah.
I don't think he
didn't go in depth.
He didn't go in depth
with
of it. I think that's the big thing. We know that he's a good passer, or he was an okay passer. His running is the one that is the thing that gets him the most fantasy points. And that's why he was number 1 this year. So, I'm gonna go with. I think he did bring up good points that Calvin Benjamin and Devin Funchess are gonna get better and are gonna come back and it's gonna be good. I'm going to go. It's really tough. I wish I could give you both points, but
Should we do that? You want to have a tie
No.
thing?
No?
I was just.
Okay. You brought up a good point that there are other quarterbacks. So I don't think there's any quarterbacks that are in the top 5. There aren't rushing quarterbacks that are gonna get as many points as Cam Newton is rushing.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying rushing isn't. It's a big deal in fantasy, but you could just throw the ball and have as many, if not more, points.
I know, but it depends on what league you're in. If you're in a league that's 4 points per passing touchdown or 25 yards as a point, then it's hard to get a lot of points with just passing. So with that, I'm gonna go with Jared because he did go about the rushing stat, and that makes it so much bigger fantasy wise because fantasy you have to pick a running back because those are the most points.
But you don't want to. But also, I'm just asking. You think that even though he had a fantastic year, don't get me wrong, but you think just 1 year of proving that he could do those things, you think he's going to consistently do it for years
I mean,
to come?
you can't say
exactly,
you can't say that
That's what I'm saying.
I know it's really tough because you can't say that he's going to do good, but then you can't say that he's going to do bad because of so many weapons and the continuity in his offense. I just think that he's such a great athlete and player that he's just gonna be phenomenal. So that's again, I would give half a point, but just that argument about the rushing is just gonna give Jared that point. So the standings are now me 1, so I'm out. Jared gets 5, right?
Yeah,
and
and I
then
have
Nick gets
3.
3. So we're all 2 points away from each other. Basically it. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.